Good evening and welcome to the April 12th, 2023 East Lansing Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Dempsey, would you please take the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Boyd.
Here. Commissioner Sullivan.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
Commissioner Denault.
Here.
Commissioner Lapine. Commissioner Hendricks. Commissioner Bowman.
Here.
Thank you. On to item 1.2, approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Bowman,
Support.
seconded by Williams. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. On to item 1.3, approval of the minutes from the March 22nd meeting. I don't believe those were updated, so I think we're going to approve those at the next meeting, which is April 26th. So that brings us to item number 2, committee reports. I don't believe there are any. So number 3, staff reports. Mr. Dempsey?
Yes. Good evening. I just would like to formally introduce myself to the public that might be watching. I know that I've introduced myself to those of you that we hadn't met before, but Tim Dempsey, I'm the Interim Director of Planning, Building, and Development. As you may have heard, I've rejoined the city to help with the Planning, Building, and Development Department, overseeing that for the time being as we work to add additional staff to a number of our divisions, including the Planning and Zoning Administrator position, which is currently vacant, of course, with Peter Mentzer's departure. But we are working to do that, and in the meantime, we appreciate everyone's patience with our staff. As you know, it's Rebecca and Taylor now. We're sort of left, and they're doing a great job right now, making sure things are covered. But we appreciate patience with things like the minutes that might not be as timely here in the next few months. But we'll work as diligently as we can to get things done in a timely manner. So we appreciate your understanding, though, when things might not be quite exact. So thanks ahead of time for your patience and grace. Other than that, I think we're all set. So looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. On to item number 4, commissioner announcements. Seeing none. Item 5, communications from citizens. Item 5.1, written communications. I do see that there was some correspondence that was added to our agenda packet regarding the 1090 Trowbridge proposal that's on tonight's agenda, which is item 6.1. In that correspondence, it was a letter and a PowerPoint that detailed the environmental, traffic, and pedestrian impact of that proposal, specifically just a drive-through business being located there. So on to item 5.2, verbal from the audience. So any discussion on item 6.1 or items not on tonight's agenda? Are there any members of the public that wish to come forward and address the commission?
Alice Drager just wanted to say thank you to Tim Dempsey for coming back and rescuing us. Wonderful to have you back. And can't we have Planning Commission outside?
Is there a second to have Planning Commission?
Second that.
I got the same request from my students today.
Yeah. All right. Any additional members of the audience that wish to address the commission? All right. Seeing none. Oh.
Sorry. Susan Chalgen, I'm resident of East Lansing and also president of the Trowbridge Business Association. And I have not gone over the attachments yet, but I did get a notice that they were going to be requesting something. I'm all for supporting the business over there, as it is an important gateway to East Lansing and MSU, and I would encourage more attention in that area. I do have a communication from MDOT employee who says that the plans for tearing down the ramp and reconstructing it during 2024-25 are all in sync. They're in plans and stuff. So there's a lot going on over there. And I encourage, without looking at the details of what they're requesting, to support being open to encouraging business there and encouraging it to flourish.
Thank you for your comments. Please.
I am also a member of the public. I am the one who submitted the PowerPoint presentation and written documents, and so I was uncertain whether those would just be viewed on your own time or whether the oral accompaniment with the presentation would be possible.
You certainly can address the commission. I don't know if we have the capability of putting the PowerPoint up on the screen if that's what you're asking. But yeah, you're allotted 5 minutes to address us. So
Certainly, yes. Well, I'm one of the residents of the Trowbridge Arbor Forest Apartments.
We have your name on your report here, but if you could speak your name
Yes,
for the
my name
record.
is Sabrina Curley, resident of the Arbor Forest apartment complex, adjacent to the 1090 Trowbridge Road property. And so my main concerns are where in the notice that was given, it is just initially explained to all of us as a development for a drive-through. However, buried within all of it is that it is a Starbucks drive-through next to a very busy college campus. Currently with Starbucks drive-thrus currently only on the north side, and so this would be the first south side drive-through, which have much traffic due to students having the ability to go either from campus to a Starbucks or coming off of the highway towards campus and stopping at a Starbucks. One of the large concerns is that the roadways at the current moment may not be able to handle all this additional traffic due to the entry and exit to the drive-through only being possible through one intersection of lights. Not a normal intersection. It is required for, if you are going westbound, you must turn right, and if you're going eastbound, you must turn left. And then once you are coming out of the parking lot, you must turn right and then do an immediate U-turn should you wish to go back east. The big concern is that in following this right-hand U-turn, it is going to cut off the two entryways to all Arbor Forest and Trowbridge residents, along with 30 to 40 houses in this neighborhood area that only have these two entrances to get into their properties. And so the U-turn is currently only stationed to hold 3 cars. And so imagining, based on several surveys of American college students with their coffee consumption and wanting to prefer Starbucks over other areas, this could be just very busy. And not only the fact that it's just a Starbucks, but it's a drive-through which facilitates easier and higher car motion around. And so a final concern is that this light, as it is set up, pedestrians going to and from Trowbridge apartments to the greater East Lansing city, there's only one sidewalk that goes from our apartments and houses to east. The other side of the sidewalks only starts about halfway down Trowbridge. So in order for any bikes or walking pedestrians to get to the area, they must cross this intersection, which is already notorious for not having people pay attention because it is just a right turn, and so people are very likely to just see that there's no one around at a red light and right turn, as opposed to waiting for the light to turn green to go straight or turn left. And so I oblige all of you to either wait for the group's traffic study to finish up. It's noted that their 2017 study is what they're relying on, and that the 2023 current study has not yet been completed and distributed. And so these are my concerns as a resident right next to the property.
just real quick, I had a point of clarification, if you can. Was your concern specifically that this was going to be a coffee shop, a Starbucks, or was it that it's a drive-through in general? Because as I understand it, this building was approved in 2017 by the city as a drive-through location.
Yes, it's primarily
set
that
up
it's a
as drive-through.
Starbucks drive-through, where in proximity to the college campus, where all other Starbucks drive-throughs are on the other side, and so it'll have an influx of drive-through traffic as opposed to just coming and being limited by parking spaces. There's now no really limit on the consumers that can go here because it's just going to be the line for a drive-through could just continually have cars added to it, as opposed by being physically limited by, say, 30 parking spots, so only 30 people can be going in or out at one time. And so it'll just be the sheer number of traffic, the sheer size of traffic on these roadways, in addition to having the people who live there try to navigate to other parts of the city.
Okay, Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Friedel. I live in the Ivanhoe neighborhood, and To some extent, I agree here with the problems that are occurring on Trowbridge Road right now. With MDOT using Trowbridge Road as part of a detour process, we have an excessive amount of people coming off of eastbound 496 to get on to northbound, and instead of going down to Dunkel Road as they would like you to, people are getting off on Trowbridge Road and they're making illegal U-turns at some of the crossovers. Some of the crossovers are not able to, because of the short radius, trucks and cars with trailers can't negotiate the U-turn without going up over the curb onto the grass. If you stop down there, you'll see a lot of tire tracks. So certainly waiting for the 2013 traffic study, or the 2023, excuse me, traffic study be done before we contemplate what's going on here would certainly be appreciated.
Thank you. Seeing no further members of the public coming forward, are there any members online in the queue?
Waiting in the queue.
Thank you. That brings us on to item 6. Item 6.1, public hearing and consideration of a modification to a condition of special use permit and site plan approval for the development at 1090 Trowbridge Road. Taylor?
Hello. Oh gosh. Okay. So the request before the commission today is an application from Trowbridge Crossings LLC for an SUP modification to their site plan and SUP approval from 2017. The subject parcel is zoned B2 for retail sales. The applicant wishes to modify their 14th SUP condition from their 2017 site plan and SUP approval, which limits their drive-through hours of operation to 6 a.m. from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So they wish to expand their allowed drive-through operating hours to 5:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. The location in question is the southernmost suite of that one-story commercial building at 1090 Trowbridge Road. It has drive-through facilities and it is anticipated to that a Starbucks will occupy the space. Prior to 2017, the lot was combined with the adjacent lot to the north, and it was originally developed together as 1100 Trowbridge Road with a 3-story hotel in the northern lot and a 1-story commercial building with multiple tenant spaces in the southern lot. And then the southernmost unit of the space is the drive-through, is the one with the drive-through capabilities, and then in 2017, the lot was split into 1100 Trowbridge in the north and then 1090 Trowbridge in the south. As for review of this request in terms of the considerations for special use permit, there's no new buildings being proposed. It's in alignment. The use of the property itself is in alignment with zoning and future land use designations for the area as well as the adjacent surrounding properties. There was a 2023 traffic study submitted by the applicant, and it indicates that there will not be an increase in traffic congestion at the site with an estimated 13 additional trips in that additional half hour. That's located on page 22 of the agenda item. The use of the property, so then the use of the property is in alignment with the zoning in that district, which is B2, as I said previously. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here tonight to answer any questions, further questions about their request. Are there any questions for me directly?
Vice Chair?
I just want to clarify that there will be no 2023 study in that. It looks like there's a letter from Parsons suggesting that won't be necessary.
Yeah. So it's a letter from the engineer reevaluating it and stating that there doesn't need to be, the change is not significant enough to warrant an additional study. It's just a reevaluation. The city engineers have also evaluated the 2017 and the additional letter from 2023 and stated that they don't have concerns.
Taylor, I'm trying to get my head around this. So I do understand the citizens' concerns about traffic. I mean, I've been to Woody's there, got stuck on the on-ramp because I couldn't get across fast enough and turn. I mean, it's hard, I think. And I see the traffic from the Starbucks drive-through on Grand River, and where there are cars backed up either way trying to get in. And I mean, I don't know if that would be a problem. But cars exiting, I think, really would be a problem. So I was a little surprised that there seems to be no warrant for another traffic study, or it seems like it's fine. But I mean, just because I trust that they've done due diligence here, but I also know from my own experience at Starbucks it can be kind of crazy, especially between like 7 and 10 in the morning. So I don't know. I'm just trying to. I don't have a specific question. I'm just trying to put it out. I guess some of my own feelings about this. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was. Excuse me, I didn't live here in 2017. What happened? Why was it not built back then? Was it just not approved?
It was built as a drive-through facility, but as like a white box space. So for
Okay.
a future tenant to be designated for that space.
And then when are they planning on, if everything goes through, how long until this thing's up and running?
The lease space, that's a good question for the applicant, actually.
The applicant, well, we have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Maybe we can address that.
All right.
I think when they get up here. Any additional? I had a couple. So Taylor, this was already approved as a drive-through, so we're really just discussing expanding the
Well-
opening from 5:30 to 6 a.m., right?
Yeah, 6 a.m. to 5:30. Yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right. I'm trying to wrap my brain around this too, and I think essentially what we've done as a city is we've approved something to be a drive-through, and then I guess we're having discussions about, we can't have a business located at this drive-through that's going to be too popular for this business because it'll have too much traffic, but we're not doing a traffic impact study to see what the difference is, not necessarily suggesting one, just commenting on that. I did have some questions about how the drive-through would function though. So as I'm looking at the photos here, I believe the stacking would be wrapped around the rear of the building, correct?
Yep,
Do you
to
know
the
how
west.
how many numbers they would be allowed to have stacked there?
Maximum?
Yes.
They were allowed to be stacked there. They're required minimum to have 10.
Okay.
So that's what our ordinance requires. The maximum allowed would be the maximum that could fit in the parking lot space.
Is that going to require any additional signage on the property to designate that drivers are to drive, I'm assuming, to the north around the back of the building to get into the drive-through there?
In terms of internal designation signages, that
No, like in the parking lot.
in the parking lot. So in terms of what's required, it's basically what's allowed. There's no directional signage that's necessarily, directional signage is required inside the property, but where that's located and what that looks like is determined as they submit sign permits specific to the businesses. So there are requirements for signages, but what those look like or where there will be specifically is determined when the businesses come in and submit permits.
Okay, and then I know we've heard some comments from the public about the stacking issues that have taken place at the Stoddard Starbucks. So I guess this isn't a question, but just thinking out loud that this could potentially alleviate some of the stacking issues there by adding another same establishment to a different part of the community. So anyhow, is there any additional question? Commissioner Williams?
Taylor, if I'm remembering this correctly, when the original application was made in 2017, the hours requested were from 5:30 in the morning until 9 p.m., but because of concerns raised by the citizens, City Council did not approve that request, but instead moved it to 6 a.m. So now we're being asked again to move to 5:30. Is that correct?
I don't believe that there was a specific request for the 5:30. Normally, operation hours aren't specified because they're just within our allowed operation hours in our ordinance. But the specific condition that limits it from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. was a condition added by City Council specifically to address concerns of that the residents had at that time. Yes.
Okay, I have another question then. One of the concerns raised from neighbors nearby, including at the apartment complex nearby, was about noise at that hour of the morning, in particular if certain equipment is used outside to order beverages from the car. Do you have any information about what kind of system will be used and whether or not there's been any consideration about that by the applicant?
I can answer, and then the applicant can give more information. So as far as the loudness of the speaker box or loudspeakers, so Our ordinance will still be in place that protects against unlawful loud noises. So that is in place regardless of the hours of operation. The operation of any electronic sound producing device that's plainly audible from 50 feet away isn't allowed under the ordinance. And so should the speaker system exceed limitations that we've already have in other noise ordinances, then there's avenues for recourse for that, for enforcement action, should that be an issue in the long term. But our ordinance protects against loudness of operation systems already.
Okay, thanks.
And then the applicant can talk more about the
Thank
specific
you.
system. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Jordan Samp. I'm the Director of Real Estate Development for Boji Group, who's representing ownership, and we're here on behalf of Starbucks Coffee Company as well. Happy to answer any of the questions that were addressed and happy to give any further information that I have. So the request from Starbucks to amend the drive-through hours, which I believe it was pre-me of being here, but we're set kind of generic spec for it to be some sort of coffee drive-through shop. Starbucks had approached us and asked if they could request this to conform to their other coffee shops in the area. I know they switched staff around to different stores and everything like that, so to keep their hours of operation the same is their preference. Regarding the noise concern, which thank you, I'm grateful for the residents for preparing such thoughtful responses. I do like to have a community that's involved because I like the discourse. We try to be as open and transparent with our residents as possible and to hear them. So with the sound, I don't have all of the information concrete with me, but I have requested it from Starbucks and the vendor that they use for their speaker system. And they have what's called AVC, which is audio volume control, which is essentially kind of like an ambient white noise that is used to automatically buffer on top of the existing vehicle noise to ensure that the noise from the loudspeaker is adjusted to not exceed any of the loud decibel requirements. So I can have that information sent over once I have more information. So we are taking that into consideration and want to make sure that that's addressed and the residents are comfortable knowing that it's not just a loudspeaker that's going to be out there projecting as early as possible. Now, one thing that I do want to note, on the site, we were, as an ownership team, required to put a black wall, I believe it's 8 foot in height, that runs on the north-south property line in between the properties, our retail center and the neighboring apartment complex. The approximate measurement between the westerly wall of our center to the neighboring residence is approximately 143 feet. So between where the drive-through speaker would be emitting any noise, you would have the drive-through lane, a swale, the 8 foot black wall, carport parking, or a row of parking, a drive aisle, another row of parking, and then the apartment complexes. So it's not that we come here to be insensitive. Surely if there were windows right abutting up to that wall, that would be a large concern. But from preliminary conversations on the noise aspect, that would be buffered and automatic with vehicle traffic behind the building. Let me see. As far as timeline, the timeline to Starbucks has not signed their lease yet. That is where we're at, and as far as negotiations go. The space is partially built out, kind of like a white box, so they would have to come in and build out their space. I would estimate probably about a 6 month, once we get okay to go, at least 6 months. There's a couple things with regards to Starbucks work letter that might move that needle. But Starbucks has voiced that they want to be here. They like this community. They do well here. And the additional half hour, we believe, between 5:30 and 6 won't largely be affected by student traffic if they're going to class, at that hour between 5:30 and 6. And most of the students do walk or bike, which is a positive as well as far as traffic. The updated traffic study that we got, or the discussions that we had with Parsons, went very in depth. We wanted to make sure that we met all the criteria, and we would have commissioned a traffic impact study if it tripped the 50 one-directional trips per the code. Upon further negotiation or discussion, it came back as 13 one-directional trips just for that half hour. So well within the 50 one-directional trips to make us go back and do another traffic impact study. So I just want to be clear that the additional half hour, we did go over the traffic there. Are there any other questions? I'm trying to go through, make sure I got them all.
So are there any, so have the conditions changed? I mean, appreciating that that Starbucks isn't there yet. The conditions changed such that, that would support this extension of hours, that given that, what Commissioner Williams was suggesting, that at that time, I was on the commission at the time, the Planning Commission.
Sure.
That there was, I seem to recall a fair amount of discussion regarding noise or traffic or emissions that might be generated by these trips. And so has there anything appreciably changed on the site that would suggest that when this goes to council that they might not, consider their previous concerns about extending the hours?
I don't believe so. It was approved for a drive-through, probably a coffee use to start. So when the traffic study was addressed for that use, retail, there are certain the trips there that were analyzed.
Sure. And would access still be available? Say foot traffic could still enter and exit the building. It's not solely for, you could go into the counter and at that time. You could go at 5:30.
The interior hours, I think, are different, are listed as different, and I apologize, I don't want to overspeak and say, but I don't think the interior is open at that time. I think it's just drive-through.
Okay. That would be of some use when this comes before us again.
Sure,
with the
sure.
information regarding that. Thanks. Thank you.
I was going to ask about bike racks, but I see that there's some located at the southeast corner of the property there. So.
Yeah, there's enough for 18 bikes. I think by code we were required to have 17, so there's space for 18 bikes.
Great, thanks for the clarification. Any additional questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
The hotel to the north, have y'all been in contact with them? Have they given you any feedback as to their interest in having a Starbucks there? I ask, I think, for two reasons, just so I'm being transparent. Sure. The first reason being, do they have a coffee shop in their hotel that they might see Starbucks as being a competition? But secondly, and I think more important, I see that there's a pedestrian walkway that goes from the hotel to that building where the Starbucks is. And it's marked, but as I think we all have experienced, drivers don't always necessarily respect pedestrian markings. And so I wonder if the hotel is concerned has expressed any concerns in any conversations you've had with them about pedestrian safety?
So we own the hotel as well.
Perfect.
So conversations have gone okay.
Okay, good, good.
But yes, I mean, we do, when we go through these types of projects, we do talk about this, and we are concerned, obviously, for vehicular and pedestrian safety as well. I think there's a benefit of us owning both properties. We like the synergy between the two uses and think they would go together very nicely with the hotel. You don't have as many people driving that way. They'll walk over to the coffee shop. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I realized that they were two separate properties and didn't realize that.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand or picture in my mind where you said there's going to be a wall, so there's a drive-through and then some space. I'm looking at a picture of it here. I see parking spaces. We all know that there's a fence between this property and the apartments, and the fence has been much discussed.
There's a black wall we had put up as ownership. It's a CMU black wall that runs from the north side to the south side property line. So it's not a fence.
So,
or maybe we're talking about the wrong area. I'm sorry.
well, I'm trying to understand that. So,
Sure.
I thought you said there's the drive-through, and then to mitigate noise, there's some sort of a an 8-foot fence, is that right? Or a wall that you're talking about?
Between the retail center and the Arbor Forest Apartments,
Right.
there is a black wall that runs north and south on the property
But-
line.
But there's a fence too, right? Or I'm talking about two different things.
Maybe you're thinking about the fence that was associated with the house that was
Yes.
built incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah, so
I
that's,
know.
Further north.
that's on the same,
Yeah.
no offense, but
Okay.
I think that's what, no offense, that's what I think you'd be presumably talking about.
Right, so that's not the same.
The fence from that specific instance is built at the northern part of that wall. So at the northern part of it, it is a fence, and then at the southern part of it, where she's speaking, is a wall, and it can be seen clearly on 32.
32.
I'm sorry for any
Okay.
miscommunication there on that.
No, I just wanted, because we had a long discussion about fences there, and I just wanted to make sure I understood
Yep.
what was going on. Yeah, I don't want to relive that.
No, and I love to be brought up to speed. I do apologize. I wasn't here for 2017 Planning Commission, so I appreciate the feedback.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, I just wanted to note for the minutes that Commissioner Lapine arrived at 7:14 and Hendricks at 7:31. All right, at this point, we will open the public hearing for item 6.1. Are there any additional members of the public that wish to come forward? Any members on the queue?
We have nobody waiting within the queue.
All right, so I believe we will potentially see this item on the April 24th Planning Commission agenda. Thank you.
6th.
Oh, 26th. Is it 26th?
It is.
Can I have a quick request, Taylor, for that meeting? Do you have a picture of that area a little bit better? Because
An aerial?
yeah, I'm looking at a picture here. It looks like a fence to me, so I don't
It's,
I don't disagree.
I'm looking on page 34, and it looks like a fence that, 48? Okay. Anyway.
on page 37,
Wait,
I
there's
think
the
is a good picture of it. 37, 38.
That's not a fence. Okay. Never mind. I'm okay.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, that brings us to old business, item 7.1, discussion of appointing a planning commissioner to the Small Cell Wireless Ad Hoc Committee, as stated in Policy Resolution 2023-3. Mr. Dempsey?
Good evening again. So, as you know, there's been a resolution passed by council. It's included in your packet to form this committee to address this issue, and at least to the extent that is possible, given state statutory authority on these small cells. So we are hoping to convene this group rather quickly. So I understand this was on your discussion agenda last meeting, so hopefully we can identify someone to appoint so we can also get the Historic District Commission to make their appointment tomorrow evening, and then we'll have our 3 members and probably be putting together a meeting fairly quickly. So,
Does this require a motion or just a simple?
So I think in the past, when you've nominated, if someone's been selected because it's a ad hoc, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to do that by motion. Actually, Commissioner Bowman might recall in the past when we've done sort of ad hoc appointments.
I think that's what we've done, but I also think that it's not inappropriate for the chair just to appoint if there's no issue. But Mike, I don't think it'll hurt anything by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't sense there's a clamoring for multiple people competing for this role, so I think that'll.
I think we have a lot of wireless cell technology experts up here, so you might be surprised, but a vote sounds good to me. I guess let's just start off the conversation. Are there any members of the commission that would be interested in serving on this ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would be happy to.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if it was you. Yeah.
All right. Is there a motion?
I was gonna take it, nobody
Oh, you can take
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
You sure?
You sure?
it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't.
Do it. Go for it.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll contribute. I got you.
Mr.
I'll
Chair,
take care of it.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Hendricks to serve on
There you go.
the
There
ad
you go.
hoc,
There we go.
Motion by
There we go.
Vice Chair.
ad hoc committee for the small cell wireless ad hoc committee.
All right.
Why
Is there a
not
second?
learn something new?
Seconded by Commissioner Williams. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All
There
right,
we
the ayes
go.
have it. Congratulations on your appointment to the ad hoc.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any dates of when it's going to be? For how long the discussions will last?
I don't have that, so we're still trying to figure out from a staffing perspective how it'll be staffed, but that'll happen fairly quickly here because we do need to get moving as we know that those applications are going to be rolling in quickly.
All right. That brings us to item 8, new business. There's none. Item 9, commissioner concerns. Are there any commissioner concerns? Seeing none, I believe a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Denault. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 7:38 PM.